you know what that sound is?
It means we're live.
Yes, we are back. We're so back.
Or were we gone?
Well, you left on the holidays. You said you gained 5 pounds over the weekend.
That was personal, and if I wanted to say it on the pod, I would have said it on the pod, but it is true.
Start the pod over again, guys. Take it back from the 5 pound thing. Here we go. Here we go. Action.
Back to one. I gained 5 pounds in spinach dip and cookies alone.
Is that right?
It's not great, guys. I know it sounds disgusting. I'm the whitest of whites when it comes to mayonnaise. Anything with mayonnaise, just put it on my plate.
Speaking of whitest of whites, very white movie we're talking about today.
We're talking about American Fiction. Can you see? Wait, switch to that camera angle.
Okay. I'm sorry.
Oh, there he is.
I don't have a really good angle here. I'm sorry. I rushed it.
How are you? Did you have a good holiday?
Yeah, it's good. It's good. I never know if people celebrate it or not, but mine was cool, man. It was chill. I didn't do much. I'm getting old, and so I kind of keep to myself. I'm being an old crotchety man. I'm Howard Hughes now, Sarah.
I like it. I got you that sweatshirt, not as a Christmas present, but should we show people? Somehow, heartbreak feels good in a place like this with Nicole Kidman just in a pinstripe, sparkly pantsuit.
Our queen.
I love it so much. Yeah. I'm so glad you like that sweatshirt.
Sarah, this is a movie that once you saw the trailer, you text me immediately. You're at Alamo, you saw the trailer to American Fiction. You said, I think the premise is amazing. I want you to watch the trailer. Not even a movie recommend. You're like, go watch the trailer now. So I think that was about 2 months ago. It's a movie that came out pretty soon towards when the trailer dropped. Didn't have that much of a lead time that we didn't hear about, but it won some of our trailer trashes. So I'm excited that we've both seen this movie now. We haven't talked about it at all. I'm excited to dive into it because it seems like a very Assad and Sarah movie.
It does. It's so interesting because I'll know that you've gone and seen a movie and I'll go see it too, or vice versa. And there's sometimes where we'll kind of talk about it or whatever, and sometimes where I'll know he's seen it and I'll just not text and ask any questions about it. And this is one of those times. So I'm like, I have no idea if you liked it, if you didn't like it. So we're going to find out together.
Yeah.
Oh, New Year's resolution. I told you this. When I'm editing our podcast, I say so much that I've figured out what the little wave file looks like. I'm really going to try to stop saying and It's really hard. This is our podcast.
Hey, people at home who podcasts make you insecure. You're just like, damn, I do that so much. So if you want to be insecure, start a podcast and have to edit it yourself. You're like, why am I still fucking talking? Shut up, Assad.
What's your pet peeve?
Doesn't I look beautiful? I'm pretty smart. I would.
True. No notes. No notes. Oh, there I go again with the ums. Sorry, friends. I should stop yelling as well. So let's dig into Jeffrey Wright in American Fiction. Quick summary. The film follows a frustrated novelist professor who jokingly writes an outlandishly stereotypical black book out of spite, only for the book to be published and receive widespread fame and acclaim.
One of those things that I just think the premise is amazing, right? We've probably lightly had this conversation before. You know, we've probably written this movie on accident.
We certainly did. And it's really interesting because the reason I told you I was like, go see this movie trailer, look up this movie trailer, because we've had so many similar conversations about this. As a writer in Los Angeles, you were under a contract for some time and you experienced a little bit of this. Yeah. A lot of this.
Yeah, I almost wrote similar themes, about pilots that I had to write for that. And disclaimer, guys, that we always want to make this pod fun, and we're not cinephiles. We don't research the shit out of movies. We're just like two yahoos that like to go see movies. We're going to speak about race on this pod. It might offend some people. We try to be open and try to be honest about it without being hurtful or harmful, but we try to have real dialogue, and hopefully we will, and have a lot of fun on this pod too.
Yeah, thank you for saying that. I had made a note to also kind of speak on that. My experience is my experience, Assad's experience is his experience, and that's a little bit of all we have to go on. Yeah. We've had in-depth conversations about race, the two of us, but, we're not trying to offend anybody. If we make any dumb jokes, as we always do, we apologize. They're not meant.
With that said, Sarah, what race do you hate the most?
The whites at the moment.
What?
It does oscillate. Sometimes it's another race, but mostly at the moment for the last couple of years, it's been the whites.
Yeah, me too. Mine changes a lot when I'm watching the Olympics.
Really?
Yeah. Hey,
I'm not gonna bite on that string.
Okay, thank you.
One word summary for this film. I'm excited because we don't know.
Yes.
1, 2, 3. Disjointed. You didn't say anything.
I didn't have one.
Oh, you couldn't think of it?
No, I didn't have one for this one. I couldn't think of a one-word summary. Disjointed is interesting. Please tell me more.
I felt that this film was 2 films stitched together. And it seemed a little disjointed to me.
Okay. All right.
So let's get into it. Jeffrey Wright, this gentleman here, who's a phenomenal actor in my opinion, plays Monk, an accomplished writer frustrated that his works aren't getting the acknowledgement he believes they deserve. His publisher tells him nobody wants to buy it because they want a book that talks about the Black experience. He lashes out at a student and then gets asked to go on a sabbatical, and he goes and visits his family for a while. So he's kind of stewing about the whole needing a Black experience thing, and he says to his publisher, I'm Black. This is my experience. What do you want me to write? You know? And I think that's at its core is what we saw in the trailer. We didn't see the second part of this movie, which is more a lot of it, which is his family life and his family dynamic at home.
Yes. And as a, I want to give my opinion on this film, and I will, but I wanted your opinion on seeing, now that you see the film, as a white person, the ideals this movie's addressing, how did that make you feel?
Specifically, what do you mean the ideals it's addressing?
Shoot. From the hip.
I think that...
Let's move on. You're okay.
I don't know what you mean by the ideals.
Keep moving.
I'll tell you that I thought the idea of this being, we're overcorrecting as a country for years and years of racism by trying to let Black voices and underrepresented voices be heard, and yet what they're giving, what their artistic expression is, isn't enough sometimes. And we have talked about the idea that Black struggle films is what you call them. I don't know if that's the proper term or if other people. Yeah, Assad made that up. But they touch on that in this movie, and I thought those were really, really cool. And I also thought that the family stuff was really interesting and really cool. I just didn't think that I was confused because the trailer set me up to see a comedy about how terrible white people are to Black people, and I thought it would be interesting since we talked about it before. And then what we got was some sort of mix of these caricature-y, quirky parts, and then also this really dramatic home life stuff.
So that's why disjointed for you.
Yes.
Did you want either one of those movies? If you have to separate them, which movie did you want more?
Well, that's an interesting question. I would have seen both of those movies, but I believe that because of the way that this was marketed to me, I was looking forward to seeing what I saw in the previews and on the poster.
Yeah.
What do you think about that? Because is that the way that they had to market it to get white people to go see it? Or Black people?
Yeah, I'm not sure. I think just people to go see it. It's been proven that, first of all, the movie probably wouldn't have been made if it was just about a drama of a regular Black family.
Sure.
Whatever regular is. Nor would you have, maybe you wouldn't have gone and seen it, even if it did get made. So, yeah, I think it was purposeful in the trailer to have this big idea to lure you in to go seeing the movie, and then adding this, dramatic tale about a family in crisis, and I like it. I like the fact that there's these things going on lately, Sarah, where people are hiding the real, movie in trailers. How do you feel about, sidebar really quick, give me 2 minutes on, how do you feel about Wonka and Mean Girls hiding the fact that they're musicals in their trailers?
I find it so strange.
It's so weird. It's come on, live your truth.
Yeah, I find it so strange. And I don't think it's doing them any favors other than potentially getting butts in seats, which is their job. So I guess it's working.
Yeah, I think that was the main purpose of this trailer as well. It could be the purpose of trying to lure people in, or, it's just a really great fucking idea too. Maybe you lead with the best thing in the trailer, and they led with the idea of this writer getting drunk one night, writing a stereotypical Black experience book because other Black experience books are selling like crazy. Another artist played by Issa Rae, her name in it is Agnes Ellison. No, I'm sorry, that's not the right one. It's Centaura Golden. And her books are flying off the shelves because they're stereotypical black films. Ma's baby, daddy doesn't come, that type of shit. And what's interesting for me off the bat in this movie is that finally we're getting black films that have layered approaches to the black experience in America. And it's not just like Some Guy Called Me the N-Word Once movie or a slave movie. It's an actual real black experience that I've experienced that is a different level of just what we would call racism, This uncovers, me and Sarah, shameless plug, we wrote a series called Gray Area. If you're watching on this YouTube channel, you're probably familiar with it. That was kind of based in the same idea, which is white people and other people that are not black trying to help the black experience. They want to help the black experience, but they're clumsy as fuck at it. And that's a huge meaning of this movie, is like kind of trying to adhere to what white people see the black experience as, and people want to get this movie made and they want to get this book sold and they're trying to help, but they're so inexperienced on the black experience that it comes off so goofy, so heavy-handed and racist.
Yes, and very clunky,
yes.
I think. And they do that very well in this film. I thought that whole side of it worked really well for me.
Yeah.
I think the first act worked really well for me. I think
yes.
Jeffrey Wright's a great actor, and I love this premise of, a racial conflict that isn't on its face. It's kind of subliminal, if you will,
yes.
right? So it's not just saying, like you said, it's not just, hey, I'm black and you're white and you don't like me because I'm black, or you said something racist to me. It's more layered than that, and I love that. And that's why I got so excited when I saw this, because I thought, oh my gosh, finally, we're getting black films by black filmmakers. And shout out to Cord Jefferson, who adapted this from a book and also directed it. It's his first feature film directorial debut. So that's great. We love seeing these films made, and we love them being interesting and different and telling a new story from a new perspective.
But ultimately, this fell a little flat for you, right?
Yes, but more than that, I kind of wanted to hear what you thought about it.
Yeah. I thought, I'm with you. The first act flew by, and I was like, oh, they're really cooking here. Mm-hmm. Me personally, I don't love a soft look into family dynamic, really. Yeah. Unless it's, I don't know, I'm dramatic where I want the 7 fishes from the bear. If you're looking at family, I want it to be yelling, whatever, I'm a little dramatic in my taste. If it's nuance with my brother is just getting over the fact that he's out of the closet and he has a divorce and my mom might not be feeling healthy, I understand it and I appreciate it. There's a lot of films made like that. It's just not my preference. So you're right. I think this was definitely 2 films. And I was a fan of the first one. Appreciate the second one. And I feel bad saying I didn't love it because those films are so hard to get made from black storytellers that want to tell the dynamics of a black family. But I do have to be honest in my preference when they get into the more family dynamics. It didn't have me as hooked as much as the journey of Monk being a book writer, Same.
I felt the exact same way. And it had this, tell me if I'm wrong here, you're more of a filmmaker from the behind the lens angle. Did it not have all of these scenes? He goes after he's kind of put on forced leave. He goes to his family's beach house, which we love to see a successful, thriving black family. We love to see it on film. A lot of the times, all we get is, and Assad can speak to this more because he's the one who pointed it out to me, but we love to see, the drug dealers and the slaves and the down on their luck black families. But this was a successful, everyone in the family is a doctor or a lawyer. Every black person you see in this movie is a success.
Assumed middle class, I would say. If not higher. Yes.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So that worked really well for me, and I was pleased with that. But I agree with Assad. The family dynamic part was a little snooze festy for me. It was a little, and sorry, my point was, did it look hazy or something? Did it have a weird coloring to it, all the stuff that happened with the family, or an effect? It seemed almost Like they shot it on film or something, but I know that they didn't.
Oh, I don't know. I hate to put you on an island here, but I didn't experience that.
Yeah, it just felt soft and like led to my idea that it felt a little soap opera-y.
I feel it.
Maybe that was the dialogue and the pacing. It was pretty slow when it came to the family stuff. And Sterling K. Brown plays Jeffrey Wright's brother, who injects a little bit of energy into it because he plays this, as Assad mentioned, someone who was married to a woman, then came out of the closet, got a divorce, and is now realizing his life as a gay man and having some struggles with that and blowing some lines of coke. Am I allowed to say that?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah,
So
you're allowed to do it too, as long as you don't get caught.
Is that the rule? Okay, got
How
it.
much do you want to lose that 5 pounds you gained?
Woo!
Woo, let's go. I'm not leaving.
Yeah.
I'm not leaving.
But I think that's, Sterling K. Brown, I just think he's great. And when we first met him in this movie, I thought, uh-oh, he's doing too much.
Yeah.
But I think
Going for it.
I didn't love the way that the character was written, per se. But man, I still think he knocked it out of the park.
Yeah, there's a lot of great performances in this.
Yes.
From everyone, from John Ortiz, from Jeffrey Wright, Tracy Ellis Ross, of course, is in it for a little while, and Eric Alexander. I want to, for the people that might be following along, spoiler alerts, please. If you're going to go see this movie, probably stop the pod now. But yes, so Monk writes his book one night after getting drunk, right, and realizing where the state of black literature is, and writes this book that to him's a joke, but then his publisher, his author, ends up selling it for millions of dollars, right, Sarah?
Yes.
And his world changed upside down. Now he's got this like pen name that people don't know it's actually him. His family doesn't know that he wrote this very successful book, and he's having to deal with success now, but not the way he wanted it. It's like a joke that turns into almost tragedy
Right.
for him.
I was going to ask you, so when he's in the scene where Jeffrey Wright's character, Monk, is sitting down writing that book, right? He's had a couple scotches and he's angry, typing away. Did they use a interesting storytelling device where they have actors come out and they're in the room with him,
Yes,
acting out the book part?
Yeah,
And
he's writing about a book about a son discovering his dad, and they're in the hood. And he's got a do-rag on, and he ends up shooting his own dad. Yeah.
And it's supposed to be hokey and corny and a little wink at, oh, this is what you want to see, white America. This is how you see black people. Did that work for you, the way that they had the actors come out and they were actually acting out the scene? It was very corny, but I thought it worked.
Very much so. I thought it worked for me very much. It was a bold decision that if I saw on paper, I'm like, this is not going to work. It's not that kind of movie. But it worked in this part. And I do believe it because it was anchored by Jeffrey Wright, which you'll see, which I felt a lot in this movie. Mm-hmm. That he saved a lot of scenes because he's just a solid actor that you believe and disappears into this character. The other two are being very, very hokey. But in response to it, Monk, who Jeffrey Wright is playing, is grounded.
Yes.
You're having this surreal moment going on while he's drunk, trying to type this moment out. And it would leave the earth if it wasn't for Jeffrey Wright's acting skills bringing it back.
Yeah, he does a very difficult job in this film of being someone who, he's a curmudgeon, he's negative, he's very smart and a little holier than thou. Mm-hmm. And yet we're still rooting for him.
Yes.
Which is, I believe, probably a very difficult thing to play. You're likable and yet no qualities of someone who's a likable person. And I also enjoyed Tracy Ellis Ross in this. I've never really seen her in much, but I've heard her in interviews and I've seen her on TV a little bit, but it was really cool and refreshing to see her in a different role that wasn't Blackish. And she was charming. She's very magnetic. I can see it. She's
very good. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah, she has a small part in this. I wish it was a little bit bigger. I don't really love how her character played out in this. But yeah, as Cord Jefferson goes home, as Monk goes home, he's kind of the black sheep of his family, pardon the pun, and his sister, Tracy Ellis Ross, is playing, what's her name?
I don't remember.
Lisa, his sister Lisa. And she's kind of taking care of their mother, who's kind of fading fast. She's getting old. And everyone's like, it's good to see Monk, like the kind of family member that doesn't come around that much. And then you get into the family drama of like, yeah, he has this thing that's propelling his life forward, but now he's got to put his mom in a home. and they're trying to work that out through the family.
Assad, who's the monk in your family?
Oof, man, if you've met my family, I feel like we're all the monks.
No.
I feel like we're all a bunch of fucking
I think
monks.
you and I are both the monks.
All right, you think so?
We both moved away, don't come around too much.
Yeah, exactly. That might be the case. I know it is for you.
For me, for sure.
Oh,
So,
go ahead.
oh,
Sorry.
please.
No, I was just going to explain how, like, Tracy Ellis Ross's character Lisa, she's a physician. Again, like you say, very high, like, achieving. Mm-hmm. She passes away in a car crash. Is that right? How did she pass away? I'm sorry.
Yeah, I forget. Sorry. I know she definitely, something happens quickly, and I believe it's a car crash or something like that, and she goes very quickly.
Yeah. Sorry.
Unexpectedly, other than saying to him right before she dies, hey, we think we could use a little bit of your help with mom. She's going to need around-the-clock care, and we don't have the money to do it, which, again, him selling his book for millions of dollars and the film rights helps with that problem.
And in the monk character, he lives in L.A., but this has brought him back to Boston, and now he's saddled with family. You know, the loner of the family has to take care of his mom. He just lost his sister, and now the only other brother he has, a lot darker than Monk. Need a little explanation there.
I noticed that too.
Sterling K. Brown, a little darker than Jeffrey Wright, guys.
And Tracy Ellis Ross and,
Tracy Ellis
the
Ross.
mom.
Maybe it was a half brother. I don't know.
Yeah,
but,
I thought the same thing.
But yeah, they never got into it. But now he's saddled in Boston while his book is booming. But he's, his career's having a lot of success. But now his family drama starts to go left.
Who else could have played Sterling K. Brown's part?
I don't know. It's tough. He has to play a pretty flamboyant gay man. Gosh, I don't know. I was actually surprised, and maybe Hollywood's getting a little bit less corrective about this, that they didn't have a homosexual person in real life playing it. I don't know Sterling K. Brown's sexual preference. I think
he's married to a woman.
Okay, yeah. So I thought that was
Doesn't
actually
mean-
pretty interesting. But I don't know who else can play this role, to be honest with you.
I don't either.
Sidebar. Can I just deter us for a second, Sarah?
Please.
The real bummer about the Jonathan Majors thing is that the abuse, right? And then another black man is sentenced to, I don't know what his result will be. That's the real bummer of it. Let me get that out of the way. That now allow me to be a nerd. I think Marvel pivots to Jeffrey Wright here for Kang.
Do you have that on good authority?
No, I'm just saying they should.
Interesting.
Why?
Because he has played, other than in this movie, I don't know, I haven't seen all of his work, but I saw him in Hunger Games and in Westworld, and I'm sure in other things. He just is such a lovable, nice guy that I have a hard time buying him as this big bad.
Yeah.
But cool. He's a great actor, so I'm sure he can play it.
Yeah. In Westworld, he was a robot. He was kind of creepier in that made it work. Anyways, that's my sidebar. Marvel, call me. I got ideas. No, man, I want to just wrap up the third act of this where he sells movie rights to it, right, Sarah?
Yes, to
make this
Adam
actual
Brody.
movie? Yeah, to Adam Brody, who's just swinging for the fences,
It worked for me. Did Adam Brody work for you?
He's a little too much for me, but I could see why he went off the rails, because it's like, play the white ally bro.
Right.
And he really ratcheted it up, but it was still funny. I think there's some humorous parts about that, and then he sells the movie rights and they start making the movie. But the real thing is like, he gets selected on this book panel to judge his own book with other authors, and one of them is Centaur Gold and Issa Rae, the person that he was like really disgusted by how she writes her black books. And I think that's where the movie gets me back. Because me, I love infighting.
Yes.
Amongst demographics. I grew up black around white people. I know what racism looks like. I can almost tell you every story and every movie I've seen. I'm like, okay, yeah, I can relate to that. The real interesting stuff for me is the stuff where you go a little bit deeper and like, how do black people disagree with black people? Because as they say in this movie, when you tell one story about a race, it flattens them. There's a lot of different types of minorities, right, inside of their own race. And seeing these two infight, and they have kind of a discussion at the end about art and what you give to the people and how much you write it to make sure it's digestible, that I always struggle with. And I think that's when the movie starts humming again for me. It's like the start of the third act, but the second act lost me.
I couldn't agree more, honestly.
Yeah.
That was the part that had me, and I was interested to hear your thoughts, because I'm not part of the black experience. I obviously don't know what it's like, and I was interested to hear it from a Black person's perspective. I agree. I thought that the idea of him being an author was so interesting. And this part, of course, he's on this panel to award the best book of the year award for whatever thing he works for. And nobody knows that he wrote it because it's under a pen name and he's not taking credit for it. So as there's 3 white people on this panel and Issa Rae and Jeffrey Wright, and of course all the white people are just, they named the book, the name of his book is Fuck. That's it. And he was just trying to be silly, and he's like, the more absurd I get, the more the white people are just eating it up and they love it and they're giving me more and more money. And so Issa and Jeffrey Wright don't want this book to be awarded because they think it's pandering, and obviously it's just a little gross. All the white people are like, this is a Black experience. It's so important that we listen to Black voices, which that got me. I thought that part was funny. The 2 Black people in the room are sitting there going, here's what we think. We don't think we should award it. And the 3 white people outvote them and then say,
we need to listen.
We need to listen to Black voices. It's really important now more than ever that we listen to Black voices. And so that really worked for me, and it was very funny.
And then Cord Jefferson makes a decision here, directing this film, to not give us an ending to this film.
Right.
Because this book does get awarded, and Jeffrey Wright has to go accept his award. And then he gives us different options of how the film ends, which leaves us without a real ending to the film. What do you think about that decision?
Well, normally that doesn't bother me. I liked it. I liked it. I thought it was kind of funny. The whole movie is very tongue-in-cheek, and I thought that this part was tongue-in-cheek and it matched that tone that I really liked.
Me too. Yeah.
So the one ending, again, spoiler alert, and you see it in the trailer, but the one ending option is that he goes to accept this award, and instead of accepting the award, he goes off to make amends with this woman that he's had a love affair with throughout the movie and has hurt her feelings. And so one option is he goes back and kisses her and they live happily ever after. And then the other option is that the FBI raid him as he's accepting this award, even though it's a fictional character that, isn't a real person. So they go with that one. And then we see, did you notice, what was it? Adam Brody, the producer who buys the film rights, Jeffrey Wright visits him on set.
Yeah.
And they're filming a movie called, do you remember? It was Plantation
I don't know
Devastation or something like that. It was just like, and I thought it was potentially a little call out to Blumhouse Productions, because it's it's this white man being like Plantation Uprising, producing this film. It was interesting. So I have one question for you. They do a slow pan, and I'm sure you noticed it if I did, across all of the family photos. And they kind of make a meal of it, right? Like they do it for a good amount of time. What did you think about that?
I didn't have that didn't really stand out.
Okay.
I didn't really get a moment from it. I might have missed it,
Well, I don't think it was a moment. I just thought more like, what are we doing with this? But when I thought about it, I think he was trying to show, I felt that Cord Jefferson was, and I have absolutely no insider knowledge of this, but I felt that he had a heavy burden as a lot of filmmakers and storytellers and artists who are getting their first opportunities now, I think probably do have, where you're burdened with telling so much of the story. Does that make sense?
Yeah, very much so. I would like to say, did I cut your thought off there?
I just thought that it felt like he was almost torn, like, and the showing of all of the Black faces in the family was saying, we're not just one-dimensional. We have look at all of these stories and all of these, we're people too, and like we're a family just like any other family. And it felt heavy-handed, but also I feel like, as Uncle Ben said, with great power comes great responsibility. So I did feel he was a little torn. Sorry.
Yeah, I think that's a big component of this film, where Cord Jefferson is basically, in that argument between Sintara and Monk, Cord Jefferson is like at war with himself there. That's why he was able to write that scene so well.
Oh, cool.
You know, that's what I felt like it was. It's like every creative, even if we're not talking about race, has the argument with himself to like try to do what the masses want the most or do what's true to self. And then find a balance in between. When you add the black component in, I would say, you know, white privilege has been popularized, the term now, and we have dissected it and we're a little bit more comfortable talking about it. But a big component of white privilege that I don't think we speak about enough, Sarah, is that from my perspective, just my experience, being a black man in America, when I look at white privilege, a big part of it is they don't feel like they represent other white people.
Yes.
They can go out and do whatever. They're almost free of that, what I would call burden sometimes. If I got a call tomorrow and someone's like, hey, Assad, do you want to dance for 20 minutes in a McDonald's commercial? It pays $20,000. I probably would take it, but then I'd feel guilty as a black man that I'm like, am I really just going to be dancing in a McDonald's commercial? It looks coonish, you know? And white people don't have that burden. And that's a huge component to white privilege when you're talking about the comparison to the black experience in America, is that when the camera's on us, I never represent Assad as a black person. I represent black people. You know, and that's what this film did very, very well. That's what this argument between Santara and Monk did, which is like, Santara's like, hey, I did the research of these people who live in the ghetto, and this is how they speak, you know? And Monk is like, you don't feel like that's pandering? She's like, no, it's actually a component. Like, I want people to like my books, you know? I don't know, it's really strong. I think the content of this film, like the source material, what they decided to make this film about was really, really strong. I don't think the film got to be as good as the idea of it, which we see a lot nowadays, but I'm still so glad this movie got made, especially when it like, Cord Jefferson, the director, is his first thing that he's directed. He doesn't even know how the camera works. He went on a couple of interviews saying, he's like, man, I got the opportunity to direct, and someone told me that like you just have to have people around you that know how to work a camera and what shots you want, as long as you have the vision for it. So, you know, if I'm going to be like a fake critic, I can be hard on this film and be like, it didn't really come together for me. But that is not as powerful as that I'm so glad this film got made with this idea, with this many talented actors.
100% agree with everything you just said. And that leads me to my rose and thorn. My rose is the acting in this film. I mean, I know that's almost maybe cheap to say, oh, the acting was good, but the acting was so good. And I was so pleased with that, especially Jeffrey Wright, I've never seen him be bad in anything.
Yes. And
Sterling K. Brown, who at the beginning I thought, ooh, are we swinging for the fences, Sterling? Are we doing too much? And then he won me over, as he always does. He's such a great actor. Not a bad performance in this film that I noticed. Yeah. Beautiful actor. And, you know, I really hope that we see more from him. I really hope we see more of him in leading roles.
Yeah, that's my rose, is like getting this man who's worked in Hollywood for so long, who looks like how he looks, a lead role in the film. You got to open a film that's not bullshit. It's about something. You know, it has a point, it has a vision. Whether it fully gets there, I don't give a fuck at this point. You know, but like that's my rose, is finally giving one of those actors who like you've just known for a decade, who's never led a film, you know? And maybe he's led smaller films, but never to this magnitude. I'm like, man, I really feel happy for Jeffrey Wright to get this opportunity. What's your thorn?
Well, when you said looks how he looks, I knew you must have been talking about Jeffrey Wright, because Sterling K. Brown, I was like, what are you talking about? His abs? I'll objectify you, sir. I thought, you know, when you've gotten in that good a shape to play this role, be more nude.
Yeah.
You should show it.
Do your thing, man. You're working out. Show it. Do your thing.
You worked really hard for that, I imagine. My thorn is that what I said at the beginning, this movie felt a little disjointed. It felt like two different stories kind of stitched together. What was your thorn?
Yeah, Tracy Ellis Ross playing Lisa dying in it. I just thought we didn't need a tragedy there. You know? Not that I disagree with it too much. I just don't think we needed it. You know, I didn't think we needed a black person dying in this film. I think there's enough of those films being made. I understand why the motivation behind it, because Monk's got to be saddled with taking care of the family now, but didn't love it.
Interesting.
Yeah.
That's a really good point. I was wondering if they put it in there because so black women disproportionately die toward like any other race.
Yeah.
So I was wondering if that was the point, but you're probably right. It was just a storytelling device. But I agree. It would have been nice to see a family who was established, a black family who was established, who did well, who were working through things together, and not to see any more black death would be nice. But I agree, and I will say, please go see this film.
Yes.
Please buy a ticket to go see this film. We're sitting here picking it apart because that's what we do. Nobody told us to or asked us to. But ultimately, this is a good film. We've got black leads. We've got a black director and writer. Hell yeah. Hell yeah. I'm really excited about it. I was happy to see it. And we always complain about there's no new IP. It's all existing IP. This is a fresh story with a fresh voice. And I really liked the way that they did it. I liked all the tongue-in-cheek stuff. Double feature. I have an obscure one.
Okay.
I would say a movie I saw with you several years ago. It's called Waves.
Ooh,
also starring Sterling K. Brown.
Yes.
A movie about a black family, about tragedy, about love, and I thought that would be a good pairing.
I'm gonna give you a crazy one. This is a movie about lost identity, having to be something that you're not.
Oh.
Go ahead and throw on Shallow Hal after this.
You just pulled that out of your batute.
Why not Shallow Hal after this movie?
Hey,
for someone living in trying to live up to something they don't feel like they
a
are.
film with all black people and then a film with no black people.
Oh, yeah.
Perfect.
That's equality, right?
There you go. Yeah, I thought, well, if you do go and see Waves, I haven't seen it since we saw it in the theater in probably 2019, but stunning visuals of that film and really, really great acting. Super sad movie, but really good. My gummy rating is 3 gummies.
Oh, okay. Surprising.
Way.
That's a lot. That's quite a bit.
Yeah.
Yeah, I feel you though.
3 gummies.
Okay.
And my trailer trash.
Yes.
I will ask you a question before we get into trailer trash,
Please.
or I'll share an observation. I noticed that I saw almost exclusively black movies previewed for this film, and almost exclusively ones that I had never seen a preview for before. And I thought, well, how are people going to know to go see these movies if they're only targeting a black audience for it? How are the rest of us going to know to go see these movies if we're not getting those previews? I understand that that's the way it works. If you go see a horror film, you get more horror films in the previews, but that threw me a little bit. I was like, why didn't I know about this movie from seeing we see a lot of movies. So that was kind of a bummer. My most excited to see was a new movie, or new to me, called American Society of Magical. I won't say the word because I'm not allowed.
Is it the N-word?
Yeah.
Oh, I don't know this trailer.
But in a racist way, kind of. It's knee.
Okay. Oh, okay. All right. Cool. All right.
I wrote it down in my notes as knee and then the word.
Okay. Give me 10 seconds about it.
It's like Harry Potter for black people.
Oh, dope. Okay.
I think it might be stupid and hokey because it's the same kid from some other movie. I can't remember the name of it, but a video game movie with Chris Pine.
A Harry Potter for black sounds pretty cool.
It's pretty cool. And it's like, oh yeah, like us black people have magic. And I thought that was really neat.
That's dope.
And
Barry Potter?
What'd you say?
Barry Potter.
Barry. I like it. I like it. I like it a lot. I don't know where else you could have gone with that. That was good.
Yeah.
My least excited to see is Godzilla versus Kong. However, I'm a Godzilla fan now, so maybe I'll like it.
Yes, thanks to everyone who's made our Godzilla pod very successful. Thanks for people tuning in to Godzilla -1 pod react.
Because it was so good.
Yeah, we nailed it. I got there late, and I unfortunately only got to see The Beekeeper. So that ends up being my best and worst trailer.
Which makes sense.
Yeah, which makes sense.
That tracks for that film.
Hey, I don't want to lament here, but I think it's important that this movie got made. I'm so glad that different voices are being held up to give us movies like this. And if you haven't noticed now, maybe you've watched a couple of our pods, but sometimes me and Sarah are so movie-brained that maybe you guys want a reaction to how just the movie is. Me and Sarah really champion people getting movies made, and sometimes we can think a movie's okay, but we just love the fact that it got made. And that's kind of what's a little different about our pod. It's like if you wanted just a thumbs up and thumbs down on a movie review, that's not us. But we see the progress being made in the industry, and it's cool that these voices are lifted up. So you get a little bit more of our reaction to the actual movie being made than the actual movie in this one.
Agreed. And if I was to give this a thumbs up or a thumbs down, I'd give it a thumbs up, and I would go see it again. I think I was just surprised because I was my expectations weren't met. I was expecting a full movie like I'd seen in the trailer, and this had a totally different component that I wasn't expecting. So that takes a big, as you've heard me talk about on this podcast before, when you set your expectations and it doesn't meet those expectations, you're automatically going to be like, oh, that wasn't what I thought it was going to be. But ultimately, this was a fun watch. I laughed a lot in it. I probably cried. I think it was very well done, and it was different a little bit. And, you know, we love movies that are a little bit different.
And we are actually potting from, at the very end when they drive off on the lot, they show exactly where we're potting from, guys. That's the Fox lot they drove off of. You can even see where we pod from at the end of that movie.
Hey, I didn't know that. You might be able to see me waving out the window. Thank you all so much for joining us. I hope you enjoyed this pod. I hope you will go see this movie or stream it when it comes to streaming. You know, bet with your dollars, vote with your dollars, as they say. So hopefully more movies like this will be made, and we'll be seeing a lot more of these actors and Cord Jefferson on the big screen. And we will talk to you again very soon. Thanks, friends.